we're going to write a method. It's called compressDuplicates, and it's going to accept a stack of integers as parameter, replacing each sequence of duplicates with a pair of values. So a count of the number of duplicates followed by the actual duplicated number. If we're given something like this, our output is going to be first the count and then the number of what it is. So we have 5 2s. Next we have 2 -5s, and so on and so forth for the rest of these. This is a stack. So we're going to have to kind of manipulate. We're going to looking from top to bottom because stack is first in, last out. We're going to use a queue as an auxiliary storage to solve this problem as well. So let's start off with the thought behind how we're going to do this. Well, to do something like this, remember, we're looking from top to bottom. I know that we have to go through this entire stack. And since we have to look through everything in the entire stack, we're going to run this as long as our stack is not empty. So we have this not empty right here, and we're going to code a lot inside of here. So first we start with our count. How many are in here? Well, if we even touch one thing, we have 1. So our count is going to default to 1, and we can increment it if we hit something else. We're going to want to get this current value and compare it to the next value. So let's do ints, and we're going to have current as our variable name, and we'll set it equal to s.pop. This is going to pop the very first value off and store it in here so we can compare it to the next one. Now, let's say we have something like these 3. We want to compare every single one of these, and we want to increment our count every single time. Since we don't have a for sure stopping point, we're going to use a while loop for this. And just to take care of our bottom case, we want to run this as long as our s is not empty. So make sure you have this here before you have your and you set our current value, because we want to check the current value that we're looking at. So let's say this first 3 to the next one. So current has to be equal to s.peak. And this is going to lead us into our while loop where we can increment our counter. So we'll do count plus plus, and then we can also pop off this value so that we can look at the next one, because we don't need this one anymore. We already looked at it. We've already put it into this counter. We're going to do this until we run out of values. Once we hit this last one, all we need to do is put our counts and our current value into our new queue. And which one are we going to do first? That can be a little bit tricky. So you can just do trial and error with the current first and then the count, because it's like a 50-50 chance. Or if I'm thinking about this, I'm going to say it wants us to have this value first, the actual number of duplicates before the number that's duplicated. So I'm going to, since it's in reverse order, we're going to have to reverse this with a few while loops, because how stacks and queues work. I'm going to put our current value inside of a queue before the count. Again, it didn't really make sense to me at first. I found it out through trial and error, but I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation if you look at it. But we don't need to do that since it's a 50-50 chance. So we're going to do q.add current and then q.add count. And what this is doing is we're going to add our current value, so essentially this 17, into our queue, and then afterwards we're going to add its count, so 2. So it will be like 17 and then 2. And this kind of makes sense because after we do this, we are going to switch the order. We're going to flop it because this is going to be in the front because we did it in a queue. So we have to put it back to our stack, pop everything off, put it back into our queue, and then put it back to our stack to have everything go well. Now I've already coded that out, so I'm just going to put these in here. Feel free to look at them. Basically, we're just running this along the stack is empty, queue is empty, sorry, pushing it to the stack, and then stack is empty here, we're adding to the queue, and then we're pushing it back into our stack. That's pretty much it. That's going to conclude this. Make sure you do it outside of this while loop. You want to do it while it's all done, and that is going to finish our method. Hopefully that helped you understand this problem a little bit. That's going to pass 2 out of 2 tests for mirror halves, exercise 14.17 compressed duplicate.